Say the name Toyota and you immediately think of a car that is reliable, sturdy and is well engineered. But apart from a few exceptions over the years, you wouldn't think of a Toyota as being daring, would you?
Well, you can now, because this is the Toyota CHR, and like some of the very best designs, you're either going to love it or hate it.
CHR stands for Coupe High Rider, and whilst it may look a little like a Nissan Juke with its divisive looks, the CHR is larger and rivals the Nissan Qashqai. If you think its sister car, the Toyota RAV4, is a little ordinary, the CHR is the antidote. And don't think it's a weird Japanese designed irrelevance, because the CHR has been designed with Europeans in mind.
Because we Europeans sometimes place design above anything else, this CHR's interior is like no other Toyota in the model range. So there's some really funky design shapes. I particularly like this diamond pattern that's on the doors. It's repeated in the switchgear here, in the headlining and in the lights up here. It's really very funky in here. I love the way the dashboard wraps around the driver, and the quality in here is particularly good. There's lots of soft touch plastics dotted around the cabin. It's easily the best car Toyota makes for quality. There are some good storage places, like a couple of cup holders here. There's a place underneath the armrest. The glove box is large enough for a 1.5 litre bottle of water, and so are the door bins. One thing that really annoys me though is the digital clock here. Now Toyota insists on putting on every single model they make, and it looks so old-fashioned. It looks like something from a 1990 Toyota Carina. It's horrible.
There are just 3 trim levels on offer, and all are extremely well equipped. Entry-level Icon gets an 8-inch touchscreen, a reversing camera, dual-zone climate control and a whole heap of safety kit like pedestrian alert, lane keep assist, traffic sign recognition, automatic high beam lights and adaptive cruise control.
Do you know, I really like the door handle on this car. It's just a really nice design touch. But let's talk about the back seats. Close the door, and getting in is perfectly straightforward thanks to this car's raised ride height. And when you're back here, it's very easy to get comfortable. There's lots of knee room. That seat is set up in my driving position. I'm just over 5'10", and I've got lots of space. Headroom is okay as well, but if you're over 6 foot, you're going to struggle. Toyota has come up with a device for that though. You can put your feet underneath the seat in front of you, giving yourself some extra headroom. When you do that, the space is okay. You can fit 3 people at a push. Thanks to this virtually flat floor, getting across is quite straightforward, and it's pretty comfortable here. Again, headroom is absolutely fine. There's easily reachable eye-6 points in this seat here and in this seat here, but the biggest problem this car has is how claustrophobic it feels back here. Thanks to this black roof lining and this small window, and it's so high up, it feels very tight and claustrophobic. Children in particular won't like it back here. Round at the boot, the amount of space on offer is equivalent to a family hatchback rather than a more conventional SUV like the Seat Ateca. Let's load the car by suitcase in, and you can see you could probably fit 2 of those in there once you've got over this quite high boot lip and the drop into the boot floor. You can make the space larger with the 60/40 folding rear seats, and once you've done that, you can load those larger items in. Just a bit of a shame that there's a step between the back of the seat and the boot floor, and the fact there's no clever touches back here. There's no movable boot floor or underfloor boot storage.
It's all very straightforward under the CHR's bonnet, because there's just the choice of a 1.2 litre turbo petrol or a hybrid model that uses a 1.8 litre petrol engine mated to an electric motor.
However, despite it using the same petrol engine and electric motor setup you find in the Prius, in the CHR hybrid it's nowhere near as good. The electric motor feels very disinclined to ever drive around in full electric mode, and when it does, you've probably only got around 1 mile of electric range. Happily, this 1.2 turbo petrol is better suited if you're a keen driver. It's very punchy and very smooth, and whilst it is a little bit coarse at high revs, for the most part it's a very smooth and refined engine. It's particularly well suited to the 6-speed manual gearbox, and unusually the gearbox blips itself when you're changing down, adding that little extra sporty feeling.
And it's pretty economical. Toyota claims the 1.2 should return 47 mpg, and we got around 41. Meanwhile, for the hybrid, Toyota says 72 mpg is possible, but in the real world, this will be considerably less if you don't drive it carefully.
This 1.2 turbo is actually really quite good fun to drive. The steering is light and accurate, the body doesn't roll around, and despite all of this, the ride is pretty good as well. The driving experience is a little different in the hybrid model thanks to the batteries adding some extra weight. The car feels a little bit more ponderous to drive.
However, Toyota is realistic and says the hybrid will appeal more to people who live in the city rather than those who like to drive with enthusiasm on country roads, but even the most ardent fan of hybrid motoring will find it frustrating. The engine never really wants to travel in EV mode, and even gentle applications of the throttle send the engine rev soaring to a thrashy and coarse drone.
So far, so good then, but one thing I cannot forgive Toyota is rear visibility. That pillar is so thick it makes parking really very difficult. Luckily Toyota knows this, and there's a parking camera fitted on every single model, and on the mid-trim and on the top trim there is blind spot monitoring, so you don't pull out in front of people on the motorway. The Toyota CHR is a surprisingly good car. I love the concept car looks, the interior looks good and it feels good, and the 1.2 turbo version is actually good fun to drive. Now if you're in the market for a daringly designed SUV, then make sure you watch our review of the Peugeot 3008 at the top or our SUVs playlist at the bottom. And don't forget to hit our logo to subscribe to our channel.